courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become.
I think Steve Jobs is like one of the most incredible people really just such a presence and a legacy in Silicon Valley culture of invention and innovation. I mean, you can't walk 2 feet in the world without seeing someone carrying an Apple device. The iPhone has completely revolutionized the way that people communicate and live their lives, and I know that Apple has a lot more up their sleeves that'll be exciting to see, but even with Pixar and the creativity, I think he did great things for the world, showing that you could bring creativity into business in a new way.
Founder of successful and admired companies, Jobs is the ultimate entrepreneur and epitomizes many of the desirable qualities of people who found their own business.
Steve Jobs in his garage, which to me was a quintessential American dream. But I think Steve Jobs stands for other things too. Perfectionism. I think that entrepreneurs have to be a bit irritatingly perfectionistic and obsessed, right? And so for all of his flaws that people like my husband can talk about, that's his genius. He settled for nothing but the best, number one. Number two, focus. Where Sony went off and created hundreds of products and now you can't remember hardly any of them. Who talks about the Walkman these days? Nintendo maybe. Steve Jobs is known for walking in after he'd been fired and came back to Apple and saying, we're making 4 products and they will be excellent. We're making everything in 2 colors, black and white now, period. Used to making them in color, but he was known to focus. I think that's another lesson as entrepreneurs can take. And I think this concern for aesthetic and design, it used to be marginalized. Now I'm seeing so many entrepreneurs here in New York City coming up with entrepreneurial ideas that have an aesthetic, that are designed well, that do have the customer's use in mind. I think that we take from Steve Jobs.
From working with Jobs to creating his own company and becoming an angel investor, Guy Kawasaki summarizes the 3 main lessons he learned from his year at Apple.
The top 3 probably are that, A players hire A players, or in my case, the way I refined that subsequently was A players hire A plus players, meaning that if you're a good person, if you're a good manager, you hire people who are better than you. That's number 1. Number 2, as I said before, he really taught me that design counts. It may not count to everyone. Some people just care about price, but there is a hardcore minority that cares about design. And the third big lesson I learned from him is that some things need to be believed to be seen. Most people say it the opposite way, that some things need to be seen to be believed. But with Steve, you had to believe in a Macintosh to see it, you had to believe in an iPod to see it, you had to believe in an iPhone, an iPad to see it. And if people didn't believe, those things never would have been real. And so it takes evangelism to succeed.
Making a broader analysis, experts value different aspects of Jobs' legacy.
Belief in perfectionism and excess. Nothing succeeds like excess. Also, one last thing on it, because I think we do gloss over. I think the other part of his legacy is fail fast, learn fast, fix fast. Because this guy has had more failures in his life than you and I have had at dinners. He failed at Apple, right, with John Scully. Okay, he failed at Next, was a nightmare. Then he learned, and then look what he did with Pixar. Look what he did. How many times did he fail?
Most important lesson that Steve Jobs taught us was the power of focus and simplicity. Because too often we tend to associate technology sophistication with the fact that it needs to do more, and we need to have more products with more features. But I think one of his quotes was very profound. He says, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
So I think for all of these things, for thinking big, for being a little crazy, for failing and coming back. His was not a linear story. He failed so many times and yet came back. for being creative, for being obsessive, for being perfectionistic. I think for all those things we take from him. I think what we don't take from him are two things that people like Bill Gates are bringing. Number one, a commitment to giving back and philanthropy. I think at the end of the day, Bill Gates will be known even more for his philanthropy than for Microsoft. And I have to say, I think it's disappointing that Steve Jobs didn't see the impact he could have had truly giving back.
Jobs' biographer says his petulance and impatience were part and parcel of his perfectionism. Steve Jobs, loved as a visionary and questioned as a leader. When pondering both aspects, Tom Peters has a very strong point of view.
Signature of being an extraordinary human being, how did you treat people? That's your signature, and I just, excuse the strong language, I don't give a damn about your product if you get that one wrong.
Steve Jobs has left a legacy of great products, ideas, even controversy. For many, he became the greatest business executive of our era, and the one more certain to be remembered a century from now.
Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love, and that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Stay hungry, stay foolish.